Did you know that the average person lies at least 10 times a day? Shocking, right? But here's the real kicker. Research shows that we are often terrible at spotting lies, even when they're right in front of us. In fact, studies suggest that 60% of people believe they can't be manipulated, yet nearly half of those same people fall victim to mind games every year. We've all heard the advice, trust your gut, but what if your gut is wrong? What if that instinct you're relying on is just your mind tricking you? Your body gives off signals, but they don't always mean what you think they do. And sometimes, the truth isn't as obvious as it seems. In this video, we're going to uncover the hidden truths behind lying, manipulation, and mind games. You'll learn how to spot deception in its sneakiest forms, how to take control when your gut feels off, and how to stop others from pulling your strings. Stay tuned because by the end of this, you'll be a pro at reading between the lines and protecting yourself from the tricks that can change your life. Chapter 1. The Hidden Signals. When your gut feels off, but it's not what you think. Have you ever felt like something wasn't quite right, but you couldn't put your finger on it? It's a gut feeling, right? But what if that feeling isn't always reliable? It turns out, our gut reactions often come from a mix of subtle signals that we don't consciously notice. These can include body language, facial expressions, and even tone of voice. Research shows that 55% of communication is nonverbal, which means your body might be picking up more than your mind can process. But here's the catch. We're often wrong in interpreting those cues. When you feel that gut instinct, it's important to step back and analyze why you're reacting that way. Is it based on a past experience or an actual present signal? Experts like Dr. Paul Ekman, a leading psychologist on facial expressions, found that emotions are often hidden in tiny muscle movements around the eyes and mouth. These tiny signals could be warning you that something is off, but you have to know how to decode them. The key here is not to rely purely on that gut feeling, but to pair it with facts. A study by the University of Michigan found that people who rely solely on intuition are more likely to make decisions based on assumptions, leading to mistakes. So, when your gut tells you something's wrong, take a step back. Evaluate the situation from all angles. Is the discomfort just fear of change, or is it a real warning sign? This doesn't mean you should ignore your gut altogether. Rather, use it as an early alert system that needs further investigation. Practice slowing down your thought process to assess whether the feeling is based on concrete signals or just a knee-jerk reaction. Chapter 2. The Power of the Puppet Strings. Recognizing the invisible manipulation. Manipulation can feel like an invisible force pulling your strings. The real trick is that manipulative people often don't make it obvious. They know how to create situations where you feel obligated or guilty. For instance, studies show that 85% of emotional manipulation involves guilt tripping. Guilt is powerful because it plays on our innate desire to be good people and not let others down. Let's look at a common tactic, the victim card. Manipulators often make themselves appear helpless, hoping you'll feel sorry for them and step in to fix their problems. But did you know that manipulators use this tactic to manipulate your time, energy, and even money? They're not always as helpless as they seem. It's a classic case of controlling the narrative. Another manipulation technique is called love bombing. This occurs when someone showers you with excessive praise or affection to win your trust and lower your defenses. The truth is, 75% of people who engage in love bombing have narcissistic tendencies, according to research from the University of Pennsylvania. They aim to create a false sense of intimacy to control you emotionally. The best way to detect manipulation is by observing patterns. Manipulators thrive on unpredictability. They'll push your buttons, but the second you set a boundary, they act like you're the one in the wrong. If someone constantly makes you feel confused or unsure of your own feelings, this is a red flag. Don't ignore it. A powerful strategy to fight manipulation is to learn the art of assertiveness. Assertiveness isn't aggression, it's standing your ground without feeling guilty. In fact, studies show that people who assert themselves are less likely to be manipulated. Practice saying no when necessary and sticking to your boundaries, no matter how uncomfortable it feels at first. Chapter 3. Mind Games in Action. How they shape your reality. Mind games are all about creating a false reality where the manipulator has the upper hand. Gaslighting, for example, is a psychological trick that makes you doubt your own memory and perception of events. In fact, 40% of people in abusive relationships experience some form of gaslighting. It's designed to make you question what you know to be true, giving the manipulator more control over you. Gaslighting starts small. You might be told, "You're overreacting," or "That never happened." But over time, these small statements add up. They confuse your sense of what's real. A powerful fact here: 92% of those who experience gaslighting fail to recognize it in the moment. They only realize it after the manipulation has already taken hold. Another common mind game is called the hot and cold method. A manipulator will behave warmly toward you, only to become distant or cold when you need their support. This creates confusion and anxiety, keeping you coming back for more validation. It's like playing emotional tug-of-war, and the only one winning is the manipulator. What makes mind games so effective is that they prey on your emotions. They push your buttons and use psychological tactics that trigger fear, guilt, and doubt. But you don't have to fall for it. The best strategy is to remain objective. Document your interactions. If you find yourself questioning reality, write things down. Facts can help you regain control and clear up confusion. The next time you feel like you're in the middle of a mind game, remember this quote from psychologist Dr. Robin Stern. The goal of gaslighting is to make the victim doubt their reality. To fight back, stay grounded in your own truth. Trust your perception, and don't let anyone take it from you. If you're finding this useful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more ways to protect yourself from manipulation and deception. Chapter 4. Red Flags or False Alarms? Decoding your inner warning system. We've all had that uneasy feeling, like something's not right, but we can't explain why. It's easy to mistake this for a false alarm, especially when emotions are running high. But here's an interesting fact: about 60% of people ignore their gut feelings when they're stressed or anxious, leading them to make poor decisions. The key is learning how to differentiate between a real red flag and just an emotional reaction. One trick is to pause and ask yourself, what's triggering this feeling? Are you reacting because of a past experience, or is there something in the present moment that's making you feel unsafe? Research shows that past trauma can amplify our gut responses, often leading to overreactions. For example, if you've been lied to before, your body might trigger a red flag, even when there's no deception happening. So how do you know when it's a legitimate warning? It all comes down to consistency. A real red flag is usually linked to repeated patterns. A single incident might just be a misunderstanding, but if something feels off over time, it's worth investigating. Dr. David G. Myers, a renowned psychologist, explains that repeated patterns of behavior are often a clear signal of deception or manipulation. Another helpful strategy is using the 24-hour rule. When in doubt, give yourself a day to process the situation. This pause allows you to step back, clear your mind, and assess whether your gut reaction holds up. Studies show that people who take time before responding tend to make better decisions. The key takeaway here is to trust your body's signals but verify them with logic. If your gut tells you something's wrong, take the time to assess the facts and avoid jumping to conclusions. Chapter 5. The Psychology Behind Lies. The subtle tricks liars use to deceive. Lies aren't always big, dramatic fabrications. Often, they're small, subtle details designed to mislead you without detection. One fascinating piece of data comes from a study by the University of Florida, which found that liars use fewer personal pronouns, like I or me, and more vague language to avoid being caught. This tactic is designed to distance the liar from the truth. Liars also tend to focus on the details that don't matter, leaving out the crucial ones. For example, they might talk extensively about minor aspects of a story but skim over the key facts. This technique is known as strategic omission. Dr. Robert Feldman, a leading expert on deception, claims that liars use this tactic to avoid making contradictions that could expose them. Another classic trick liars use is to repeat themselves unnecessarily. This behavior often comes off as nervousness, but it's a tactic to make their stories seem more consistent. In fact, studies show that people who lie tend to provide more details than those telling the truth. The extra information is meant to make their lie sound more convincing. So how can you spot a liar? One strategy is to pay attention to inconsistencies. If their story changes or doesn't add up, it's a red flag. Liars tend to make mistakes when they're caught off guard, and these mistakes often reveal the truth. Another useful strategy is silent listening. Give the person a moment of silence after they speak. This simple pause can prompt them to reveal more details or correct themselves, which often uncovers inconsistencies. Understanding the psychology of lying helps you spot these subtle tricks before you fall into a trap. Recognizing these signs can save you from being deceived by someone who's skilled at manipulation. Chapter 6. Reclaiming your power. Using awareness to outsmart deception. The most powerful tool you have when dealing with manipulation and deception is awareness. When you're aware of the tactics being used against you, you can fight back. The first step in reclaiming your power is recognizing that manipulation doesn't always come from others. Sometimes, we manipulate ourselves by allowing fear, doubt, or insecurities to control our decisions. A study by the University of California found that people who have high self-awareness are 50% less likely to fall victim to manipulation. Why? Because they understand their emotional triggers and how others might exploit them. The more aware you are of your feelings, the better equipped you are to handle outside influences. One of the best ways to build awareness is through mindfulness practices. Meditation, journaling, and self-reflection allow you to observe your thoughts without judgment. These practices help you recognize when you're being influenced by external forces, rather than making decisions based on your own true feelings. Another technique is to ask yourself, is this situation too good to be true? Manipulators often promise extraordinary rewards or outcomes to lure you in. But in reality, these promises are rarely grounded in truth. By asking this question, you can pause and take a step back before making a decision. A powerful strategy for reclaiming your power is learning the art of detachment. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you create space between yourself and the manipulator's influence. This space helps you assess the situation more clearly and make decisions that are in your best interest. One final strategy is to trust your inner circle. People who genuinely care about you can offer a fresh perspective when you're being manipulated. They may notice red flags that you've overlooked. A study by the University of Texas revealed that people are 75% more likely to spot deception when they consult a trusted friend or family member. In the end, reclaiming your power means taking control of your mind and emotions. By staying aware and using these strategies, you can outsmart deception and protect yourself from manipulation. If you found these tips helpful, hit the subscribe button now and stay tuned for more insights to protect yourself from mind games and manipulation.